When offered the possibility of becoming a superhero, most will leap at the chance. But sometimes there's a small issue with the resultant powers and costume. Origin Story by Dwight R. Decker. I haven't been living in Phoenix long before I met the superhero who never was. In fact, it was after work the Friday I got my first paycheck from the new job, and I stopped in an upscale watering hole on my way home to celebrate the milestone with a drink. I sat at the crowded bar and took my time with the beer, reflecting on what I'd lost and what I'd gained by coming to Arizona. I was by myself, of course, so I hadn't been in town long enough to meet anyone, and would not prefer to be alone with my thoughts anyway. Next to me sat another quiet, solitary drinker, but I hardly noticed him. The TV set behind the bar was just loud enough that after a while I couldn't go on ignoring it. Finally gave up and watched the news. I tuned in just about the time the announcer was going through the results of the day's superhero battles. I could remember when a day between Jetman and the Skeeter would be the lead story on the national news, and a good rampage by the Gargantuan Club would keep the pundits on the late night talk shows busy for hours discussing property damage and insurance coverage. Now there were so many superheroes in so many cities, the network anchors just read off the tally of fight results about the same way they listed the NFL scores. In Columbus, Ohio, Thunderman single-handedly nabbed 5 members of the Fat Ladies gang when they tried to hijack a train. The patriotic hero Captain Star smashed a plot by the Hooded Terror Gang in Atlanta. Near Chicago, Sun God Ra used the power of the solar staff to foil a break at Joliet State Prison. And on like that. Even Kid Heroes got into it. The Teen Men made a personal appearance at a high school in Los Angeles and came away with 2 major drug dealers. Down the bar, a couple of patrons were arguing about superhero origins and what really made a hero. Back in the 30s, when the Mystery Men began appearing, no one knew very much about how heroes got their powers or what made them adopt distinctive or even bizarre costumes and names. But in the years since, enough heroes have retired and written their memoirs that patterns were emerging, and maritime philosophers could pontificate. So the guy who gets a power by accident realizes what responsibility is, one man said. No, there has to be more to it, his buddy replied. Crooks have to realize his whole family for him to have a motive to fight crime. Oh, come on. It just makes him a psycho-vigilante. He has to do it out of ideals. I didn't care about that part of it. I was transfixed by the image on the TV screen of Jetman in flight, looking so proud and carefree in his skin-tight civil uniform as he streaked through the sky. I'd give almost anything to be a superhero, I found myself wondering with an almost embarrassingly sappy sigh. The man next to me looked up from his drink, the first time in his life I see from him since sitting down. Oh, he said, would you really? Well, yes, I replied, a little irritated he had overheard me in a weak moment. The excitement, the glamour, the adventure. It's all worth something, don't you think? Maybe. It depends. He sipped from his drink and swallowed slowly and thoughtfully. Had a chance to be a superhero once. Turned it down, though. I'd heard enough barroom commando stories over the years to have a warning sense for oncoming stretches, but this one sounded sincere, or at least a better why than usual. I turned to the man with growing interest. I'd like to hear about this, I said. He was reluctant to say any more, so I had to work on him a bit. I took a good look at him, and more was a little jealous. Looked like that? Well, I might still be looking for love in all the wrong places, but I'd have more to show for it by now. He was tall, athletically trim, handsome, just what you expect from a superhero's alter ego to look like. Somebody who looked like he did should have been a superhero, so what would have been the problem? My insistence didn't wear down his reluctance until after I brought him a couple of drinks, on top of the one to be nursing. Finally, he told me his story. You can call me Jim. I've been working for a vacation company here in the valley and not getting much of anywhere. There was a co-worker named Steve suggested we quit and go into business for ourselves. We started our own little software company and struggled on for a year or so. We were concerned, but happy, and with our own bosses and making enough to get by. We could have spent the rest of our lives without any trouble. Well, Steve did have a weakness for weekend trips to Las Vegas, but other than him showing up at work hungover and broke on Monday, it was never a problem. Trouble started when we suddenly became a success. I'll spare you the details, but the short version is that our bank had access to solve a minor software problem. I looked into it, studied how banking had been done up to now, and worked on a simple system for rotating checks from one bank to another. We were suddenly rich. Not only that, a big company offered to buy us out. We would never have to work again. Should have been suspicious when Steve asked me to go camping with him in the Superstition Mountains east of Phoenix the weekend before the sale of our company was to be closed. Steve said he wanted me to help him look for the Lost Dutchman mine, But I couldn't understand why anyone would want to risk his neck working for a legendary gold mine when he was already rich. I simply looked at it as a hobby to keep him busy in his early retirement. Now he no longer had to hope for a lucky strike in Vegas. After all, any number of better equipped expeditions than ours had looked for the mine in those mountains over the last 100 years without any luck. Most historians suspect there never was such a mine, and as Joe has said, the superstitions are all wrong for gold-bearing ore. One expedition, the Dutchman had really filled his pockets working at miner somewhere and put up the story of his own secret mine to launder the gold. If I didn't really believe we might find a lost gold mine, I went along anyway, thinking a relaxing weekend under the stars would be just the thing before coming back to a difficult week of liquidating the company. We hiked several miles in the mountains, leaving the more tourist-infested areas behind, and coming up the trail into some serious wilderness where it was just us, the rocks, and the occasional cactus. Then I paused on a ledge overlooking a steep-sided valley to admire the landscape stretching out below. "What a view!" I exclaimed, turning back to Steve. "Now I know why you wanted me to come out here with you. That was when he drew a pistol and shot me full in the chest. I toppled over the ledge, dropped 10 feet to a steep slope, and rolled another 100 yards into some rocks and brush, finally coming to the stop at the foot of an odd, man-like cactus. Steve's mistake was not finishing the job, but he apparently decided it was too hard to reach. If I wasn't dead already, I would be soon, so he could confidently leave me for the buzzards. Whistling a tune that sounded like "We're on the Money," he headed back in the direction of civilization. I may not have been dead, but the distinction was technical. With the last of my fading consciousness, I tried to think of Chris's violence for Steve. His share alone of the price we were getting for our company was enough to keep him rolling dice and romancing floozies in Las Vegas the rest of his life, but no, we had to have mine too. Perhaps I was hallucinating as the darkness closed in. I had the odd impression the cactus next to me was changing his shape and turning into a man. I'd read casually about near-death experiences, but it didn't seem to fit the pattern. Then the light went out. When my awareness came up again, I was sitting on a rock and drinking some strange-tasting water from a battered old tin pan. "There, my friend, how goes it for you now?" On the other side of the tin pan was an ancient, weather-beaten prospector in a battered old hat, with a long tobacco-stained white beard spilling over his worn and faded denim shirt. Strangely, I felt fine. The front of my shirt was caked with dried blood, but any wound in my chest beneath the round bullet hole had been miraculously healed. The bruises I must have gotten from rolling down the valley slope had vanished as well. "I never felt better," I said, amazed. "I should be dead." "I'm not, I hope." The old prospector laughed. "Nein, you are very much alive." "Just what I am? That is another story." Suddenly I knew. "You're the Dutchman, aren't you? Jacob Waltz, right?" He laughed again. "Ja, that is who I am. It is good to be remembered." You can't live in Phoenix very long without hearing all about the lost Dutchman mine legend. And the Dutchman, actually a German immigrant, but ethnic nomenclature was looser in those days, had died in 1891. At least that was when he was supposed to have died, and there were witnesses. On the other hand, the extrication of his grave was as much a mystery as that of his gold mine. The historical record was vague enough to fit in the fake death, but after 100 years there didn't seem to be any more likely than an alternative. I was talking to a ghost. Rather than press the issue, I just asked, "How did you take my life?" "For that you can thank the Puma medicine man who sold me this Vassar of Life elixir," Jacob said with a grin. "It is a sovereign remedy for what ails you. It works better than any patent medicine ever bought from a peddler's wagon." "Thank you. Do I owe you anything?" "Just hear me out. I want to make you an offer. You are a good man of good character. Your friend, the man who trusted you, tried to kill you. You are good, he is evil. I can give you something that can make you powerful, a force for good in the world. You can bring your enemy to justice, and then go out and fight crime everywhere." This was the kind of thing you read about happening to someone else, in a forgotten tomb or an old abandoned subway tunnel. A wise spirit chooses some worthy candidate to be a superhero and gives him a name, a costume, and superhuman abilities. If I could hardly believe it at first, it was actually happening to me. The fact that the wise spirit was a ghost of a dead prospector with a German accent may have been interfering with my sense of wonder. Perhaps it was true he extracted other people's gold instead of mining his own. He'd been put to work recruiting champions of justice as a kind of otherworldly penance, someone like Marley coming to warn Scrooge. I was so caught up on the magical moment I could only mutely nod my agreement. "Good," the Dutchman explained. "Now put on this ring." He produced one seemingly out of nowhere and slipped it on my finger. "A rabbit whenever justice cries out to be done." The ring is an ancient Indian talisman that concentrates the power of the sun and gives you strength and courage. I rubbed the ring. There was a flash of lightning, a crack of thunder, a whish of ozone, and I was transformed. Instantly later, I was 3 inches taller and bulging with rippling muscles. I wore a skin-tight red, white, and blue costume and stood legs apart and arms akimbo, with a cave rippling behind me and a breeze that hadn't been there a second ago. The old Dutchman cackling in glee. Ja, now you will strike terror in the hearts of evildoers everywhere. You will fight crime and injustice as the most noble of heroes, Captain Swastika. What? I choked. I looked down at my chest and flinched in horror. I hadn't noticed the emblem on the blue shirt before. It was an enormous black hooked cross on a white circle. I glanced behind me. Instead of the red cape was another white circle with an even bigger black swastika on it. My God, Mr. Waltz, I explained, I can't wear this. The Dutchman looked puzzled. Why not? It's an ancient Indian symbol of the sun, also a good luck sign. Wear it with pride. Look, I know you probably haven't read the papers much since 1891, but about 50 years ago, senior countrymen used this symbol for their own purposes. Believe me, nobody thinks of the sun or Lucky Charms when they see a swastika now. Phooey, Jacob snorted. You try to be generous and give a young man a chance of what happens. In your face, he throws it back at you. You don't want to be a hero? Fine. He raised his hand. Another flash of lightning, another clap of thunder. I woke up again with a ranger from the Forest Service splashing water in my face. Jim finished. In front of me stood the cactus where I'd been in the first place. Would have thought it was all a dream, except for the dried blood and the hole in my chest, and the scar over the healed bullet wound. The ranger told me another hiker had come by along the trail, saw me down in the brush, and reported it to the authorities. The hiker didn't leave his name, but described it as an old man with a German accent. Even if I insulted him by not taking up on his offer to make me a superhero, the Dutchman did me one last favor. I tried to imagine the effect of a hero called Captain Swastika appearing in public, even though I was one of the only ones in whose heart's terror would be struck, and shook my head. It's too bad you lost your chance to be a superhero because of a bad choice in costume design, I said. You could have been fighting crime, upholding the cause of justice. Oh, I did plenty of that, Jim said. I'd Steve arrested for attempted murder. Had to come up with some story about the bullet just grazing me, which baffled him because he knew he'd shot me at point blank, but it's all pretty much open and shut otherwise. Wouldn't be letting get out of prison for a long time. Got more satisfaction with testifying against him in court than I would have had wearing a mask and costume and beating him up. Now I'm rich, I'm happy, I don't have any obligation to spend my life fighting crime. He stood up and laid some money on the bar. Never told anyone that story before, he added. No one would believe me. Not sure even you do, but that's okay. Just glad to be able to tell someone for once. See you around. With that, Jim was gone. I stared thoughtfully at what was left of my drink. Never really thought about it before, but yeah, while some superheroes could choose their professional names and design their own costumes, more than a few had their names and costumes chosen for them by some supernatural entity or other. Major Miracle didn't like his costume's color coordination. He was still stuck with it because it appeared magically whenever he shouted his secret word. He had no way to change it. But poor Jim. It's one chance to be a superhero, and it had to be Captain Swastika. Someone sat next to me, too deep in thought to pay any attention at first. I heard old man's voice ask her, Ein, Bier, Biet. It was an old man with a long white beard. He was dressed in a modern business suit, and not the worn and dusty shirt and overalls of a 19th century prospector, but the coincidence was a little unnerving just the same. No, it can't be, I thought. The old man turned and looked at me, grinning like Santa Claus about to give a good little boy a shiny toy fire truck. Now, you seem to be a man of good character. I understand you wish more than anything to be a superhero? I stood up, slapped a few bills down, and turned to go. Not that much, Mr. Waltz, I said. I didn't walk up to my car. I ran. The end.